Keep you guys posted though on my next show.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with Andrew Jacked, the FIBO Germany champion, who uploaded his first training video on his YouTube channel after this past FIBO Germany. And what's he working on? His hamstrings. Because Andrew knows, unless he brings them up, the judges aren't gonna consider him for the big titles like the Arnold and the Olympia. So what we saw at this past FIBO, that wasn't the best look of Andrew. In fact, if there was any top 6 Olympian in that lineup, he would have lost that shoe. And I'm gonna say it quite comprehensively. Now to a normal bodybuilding fan, the physique that he presented in FIBO couple of weeks back, that was superb. That was superhuman-like physique. The chest was popping like crazy, his delts looking like cannons. But his conditioning just wasn't there, especially in comparison to what we saw at the Arnold Ohio this year, where he was probably in the best condition of his life, but he just wasn't big enough, or he lost quite a lot of his wow factor while chasing that condition. While it was the other way around at FIBO Germany, especially his conditioning from the back, that looked like more or less in the guest posing shape, and no wonder why he lost both the shots to Sazan Hirati, even at the finals, where he came in so much more improved. So the most surprising fact in this video of Andrew, that was when he hinted about doing a show pre-Olympia as well this year. So ever since Andrew turned pro, he hasn't skipped Texas Pro, and he's a 3 times defending champion at that show. But we were under the impression that Andrew is about to enter into a very long off-season to fix all those lagging body parts, to fix the issues in his physique, so that when he steps on the Olympia stage this year, he can be a title contender.
Go banging for the off-season. Yep. Keep you guys posted though on my next show. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Don't know if I'll go straight to the Olympia or do a show in between or 2 shows in between.
So him doing this year's Texas Pro, that just won't make any sense at all. The fact is, it isn't one of the highest paying show anyway. Plus the timeline. The show is scheduled in the 2nd week of August. So if he decides to jump into that show as well, he's gonna have to go into the prep again very soon. So the only show that Andrew should seriously consider doing this year, that is this upcoming Dubai Pro. Because that show is scheduled in June, and the man is already in shape. Plus, he lives and trains there in Dubai anyway, and he's gonna have plenty of time after that show to have a mini off-season till the Olympia this year, and 140k in prize money that can be life-changing. So the best improvements that we saw in Andrew's physique, that was from the Olympia 2023 to Texas Pro last year, mainly because of one reason. He skipped the Arnold last year, and he had an uninterrupted full-blown off-season. So if winning the Olympia is his ultimate goal, another big off-season that is due. Fuel your workouts with Hosstile supplements, one of the best isolate and pre-workout in the game, and use the code FAZI10 to get 10% extra discount. Michael Krizo and his expressions at 11 days out of this year's mighty Pittsburgh Pro, that is quite an accurate representation of all these guys who are digging deep to bring out as much detail as they possibly can. And the second last week before the show, that is more or less one of the hardest week of the entire prep, because the food gets minimal, and this is the point when you are already running very low carbs for weeks on end at that point. So the energy is low, and time also kinda slows down. So if any of you guys have gone through a serious prep, you know this feeling of being hungry all the time and sleep deprived as well, and that can certainly take a toll on you. So the condition on Krizo looks so goddamn insane. Look at those shoulder striations. He undoubtedly has one of the best skin texture in the entire bodybuilding right now. Although people aren't considering Krizo in that discussion for the top 3 in this kind of lineup. But the fact is, nothing is ever guaranteed in the sport of bodybuilding. Any one of these top guys, they can come in off for any reason, and a bang on Michael Krizo, like the one we saw at Prague back in 2023, that same kind of fullness with his all-time best condition, that can potentially cause an upset at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. So Krizo himself was very humble for saying he's gonna make top 6. The thing is, it's all gonna come down to his back, because the judges wanna see more work on his back, and they have been telling him for 3 years now. Because the fact is, Michael loses so much ground when he turns around, and as great as his quad look from the front, the same cannot be said about his back. His glutes also definitely need to come up. But that being said, overall, this is gonna be one hell of a package from Krizo, considering what we're seeing right now. And this return, after 1 year, that makes it more interesting. So Krizo looks very flat, and just wait until Josh Farah gives him more carbs. His physique and muscles are gonna come back to life so fast. Next up, we have the physique update from Ramon. So the guy has been training with Derek for the past few days, the same way he did before this past Arnold. And we were all speculating, why on earth Ramon is looking so goddamn lean in the middle of the year, when he just isn't looking to compete anytime soon, other than the Olympia this year, which is happening in October. Well, after the guest posing announcement that these guys are gonna be there at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro, it's kinda clear that Ramon is about to grace the stage, along with Mike Sommerfeld. So two of these classic physique guys, Ramon and Urs, they also did the same guest posing last year at the Pittsburgh Pro. And that kind of explains why Ramon looks to be in such a supreme condition. So he's currently weighing 260 pounds, actually above that. And I'm gonna say that right there is the problem here. The man is just forced to lose so much muscle, so much mass, in order to make that weight. And unless they increase the classic physique weight limit by, let's say, another 10 pounds, or something like that, we just won't ever be able to witness the best of Ramon on the stage. Now Ramon definitely lost a lot of his hype after the Olympia last year, because we were told that he just did not do that well at the Arnold Ohio last year, because he did only 6 weeks of prep, and for the Olympia, he did a more than 20 weeks prep, and still that wasn't the best of Ramon. So giving his body a break from the dieting from competing, that might be the best thing, as he was doing both the Arnold and the Olympia since 2022. So the scene in classic physique, that can change very quickly, as we just saw that happen from the Arnold to the Olympia last year. Wesley and Ramon, they went from being the biggest threats to Chris Bumstead to not even being talked about as the Olympia title contender this year. And that alone shows how abruptly things can change. But the fact that Ramon challenged C-Bum at his all-time best, that tells us that never count someone out, especially the guy who plays runner-up behind Chris Bumstead 2 years in a row. He can just show up at his all-time best and just shock us all once again this year. Next up, we have a 12 days out physique update from Leandro Paris. So the size that this guy carries, the size that this guy put on in the past 1.5 years, that has totally changed his entire physique. But that being said, he can still pull a vacuum, which shows his amazing control over that midsection. So too much talent is coming in at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. So Leandro's size against Good Vito at the Arnold Brazil, that was so impressive. He has more cap delts, more density and thickness on his shoulders, especially in those side shorts. But he simply just wasn't as conditioned as Vito in Brazil. So who knows what the results of the show could have been if he was in that same condition as Good Vito. Now in all honesty, we do not even know how much of that size Leandro is gonna lose. To come in more sharper and more tighter, he might lose all of his wow factor. Let's say if he comes in 5 to 7 pounds lighter. Or maybe he's gonna look even more impressive when he comes in more separated and more detailed. So for the physique updates that Leandro has posted after the Arnold Brazil, he is looking sharper with every passing week. Now we all have Derek, Nick and Martin in that top 3. Krizo looking superb, so him and Bonak, they're most likely gonna be in that top 5. Plus we have Good Vito, who's also aiming to be top 4 at the very least. But as fans, we are excited to see this rematch between Leandro and Good Vito. Now Leandro is a bigger, taller guy with his frame totally filled out from every angle, and all he needs to do is to bring more conditioning. So hopefully he goes on with his competition schedule, and he does Cali Pro and the Legion Sports as well. Now he will have a more realistic chance of getting his Olympia qualification in one of those shows. So did Michael Daboul pull out of this year's Pittsburgh Pro? Well, I'm pretty certain that he did, because that is not a face of a guy who is 13 days out of this kind of show, especially a guy who has this reputation of being the most shred guy in the entire classic physique division. So the last time he talked about Pittsburgh Pro was when he was 5 weeks out. So considering that Michael Daboul, he goes through hell in order to make that weight cutoff to be absolutely shredded beyond belief. So this right here just doesn't add up. So two of the top Olympians, whom we were all expecting to be on the Pittsburgh Pro stage, Mike Sommerfeld and Michael Daboul, they are out of this show. But if my theory is correct, it's a good move by Michael. He was having some issues peaking for all of these shows since the Olympia last year. and it kind of made all the sense to maybe take a step back and address that issue first. He can always switch things up and always go for this upcoming Dubai Pro because that was originally his plan. So due to some of the stomach issues that Krizo was having, his waistline wasn't looking as impressive as he would have wished at this past Arnold, Ohio. And that is why he was unable to live up to his hype, to his own expectations at the Arnold, Ohio this year. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.